YouTube, it's Becky from Becky Writes. This is Becky Reads, and this is my DiverseAthon wrap-up video. DiverseAthon ran from Monday the 12th of September to Monday the 19th of September 2016, and I was able to get through 3 books for this readathon. The idea behind DiverseAthon was to read books about and by diverse authors, however you interpret diversity, whether that is racial and ethnic diversity, sexual orientation diversity, ability diversity. Basically, it's looking at the broad range of diverse voices and deciding to read outside of sort of the stereotypical white, heterosexual, cisgender, middle class grouping. Now, I did get through 3 books, but only 2 of them were on my original TBR because I'm a mood reader. The first book that I finished was Labyrinth Lost. This was by Zoraida Cordova, and this is the story of Alex, who is a bruja, or a witch. She's Latina, and she lives in Brooklyn. She does not want her witch powers. She definitely wants to be a normal girl, and so on her death day, the day to celebrate her powers, instead of accepting them, she wishes them away. But her powers don't go away, her family does, and this is the story of her going into this world called Los Logos, which is kind of like a mythical in-between world, and having to fight to get them back. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it, and this is the kind of book that I will probably pick up the sequel to. I thought it was a really fun story, and the world was richly imagined. I think that the strongest thing that this story has going for it is that the world that Cordova creates is fantastic. It is interesting. The cultural nuances are just really, really beautiful. The cantos that open every single chapter are great. The family dynamics are wonderful. It's just, those are so strong. I loved Los Lagos. I loved the mythology of it. I was really curious about more of what was happening. In fact, one of the things that I think that would have made this better is if it was about 50 or 60 pages longer. I think that we needed more space to unpack both the mythical world that she goes to, some of the family dynamics, and a few other things that I'll mention in a second. But overall, I really did enjoy this, and I would recommend it to folks. This has a really strong Latina author with a really strong Latina family. It isn't based on tropes and stereotypes, but instead shows a really beautiful family with strong bonds and strong cultural attachments, and that just makes the magic of the story even better. That being said, there are some things that disappointed me and I just didn't love about this. That was frustrating because I wanted this to be a 5-star read. There are a couple of friendships that Alex has in this story, and we get no background on them. One of them is like insta friendship, which makes no sense. Even with some of the explanations that are given later in the story, it still feels forced. And then her best friend, who she has known for a couple of years, Rishi, it just is awkward. We are told that there's a history with them, but we don't see any of that. And then when the friends are all together, the conversations and the dialogue are forced. They just don't feel natural, and it suffers from being underdeveloped. The relationships outside of the family in the story are really, really underdeveloped, to the point of being like almost painful to read. Like, I was so frustrated because there was no real reason that they should have these kinds of connections. We've not seen any of that. We just are sort of lumped into the middle, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't flow. It just wasn't quite right, and that made it really frustrating to read. Basically, I feel like this book needed another editorial pass. There are definitely some major editorial mistakes. In one of the scenes at the beginning, you see Alex change into her gym clothes, and then she falls and wipes her hands on her jeans, and then she's in her gym clothes again. That is a really simple thing for an editor to pick up, and I have felt that this book needed a stronger editor or a critique partner or something, because there are places where I think another voice would have said, hey, this needs to be developed a little bit more. We need to know more about these characters if you want us to believe this other stuff later on, and I just didn't feel any of that. So this is the 3.5. I would totally recommend it. I think that it's a fun read, but do I think it's the best read that I've had? It isn't, and that was disappointing because, like I said, I really, really wanted this to be a 5-star, and it just wasn't quite there. I will be picking up the next one when she comes out with it because I really like the world, and it ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I will definitely want to see where it goes. The second book I finished for DiverseAthon was Everything by Nicola Yoon. I loved this story. This was so cute. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is the story of Madeline Whittier. She has an illness that basically means she's allergic to everything. She has to live inside her house. She has what's considered bubble baby disease, where she has a really, really weak immune system and anything could be a trigger. She has to go to online school. She doesn't have any real friends. She's basically stuck at home with her mom and her nurse Carla. That is her life until the new boy Ollie moves next door and she begins to watch him from her window, and they form a friendship and then a little something more. I don't want to give too much of a story away, but this was really, really cute. It has sketches and drawings. This is written like it is Madeline's diary, and she's funny and really insightful. She writes a lot of like one-sentence reviews of books that are just spot on. I really connected with Madeline. I really, really felt for her. There were definitely moments where I was like outraged on her behalf. I just thought her relationship with Ollie was adorable. I just really, really enjoyed this. That being said, I did have one critique, and it's the reason this is not a 5-star read, and I can't tell you without spoiling it, but there is a reveal at the end that really, really frustrated me, and I was hoping that it wouldn't go that way because to me it undermines some of the earlier part of the book. I'm not going to say anything more than that. If you've read it, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, don't let that get in your way. I still love this. This is still a 4.5-star read. The voice was spot on, the pacing was spot on. I read this pretty quickly and it was just a total delight. It was truly a delightful read. It was the right amount of like emotional angst to make you want to keep reading, but without being like heavy and teenage drama-y, and it was just really, really good and just a fun read, and I really, really loved this book, so I would highly suggest Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Alright, and the final book that I finished for DiverseAthon was Ms. Marvel Volume 1. Now this is the first 11 comics in a single bind-up, and this is the revamping, the restarting of the Ms. Marvel world, in which 16-year-old Kamala Khan, who is a Pakistani Muslim American, is given the powers that belonged to the original Ms. Marvel through like a crazy mist bomb thing, and she has to embrace her new life as a superhero when she can't tell her parents. She only has one friend who knows. Like, it's pretty crazy. Here is some of the artwork so you can get an idea. It is bright and colorful, and I think that that really lent itself to the story, was this really fast-moving art that was really engaging. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. There were things about this I really loved. I love that they showed a loving family, even if the family was kind of stereotypical. Now this is written by a Muslim woman, so if it was written by a non-Muslim, I think I would have been a little bit more worried about the family being stereotypical because they are quite conservative Pakistani Americans. But I also think that they're trying to show the inside of a family that is different than the average sort of white American family, so I appreciated that as well. I loved the imam and the scenes in the mosque. I thought they were really interesting. My best friend is Pakistani American Muslim, so I have perhaps more knowledge of what it's like to be inside a South Asian mosque than the average American. I just really enjoyed this. However, there were some places where this was just super cheesy, and I wasn't sure if that's just how comic books are because I don't read a lot of superhero comics, or if that's just Ms. Marvel. So I don't know. There were places where this was like so cheesy that I was just almost put off by it. I am not sure, so if you've read this and you are a comic connoisseur, I would love to know what your thoughts are. I did enjoy it. I do plan on reading the second installment. I have it from the library, so I do plan on picking that up at some point before the end of the month. I really, really liked Ms. Marvel. If you're into comics, if you want something that's strong and feminist and has a different kind of voice, I don't think that there are any other Pakistani American Muslim superheroes currently on the market, so if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend checking Ms. Marvel out. And those are the books that I finished for DiverseAthon. I'm also very close to being finished with Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I haven't quite gotten there, but I will hopefully be finishing that soon as well, so it's been a really good reading week for me. Comment down below and let me know if y'all have read any of these and what your thoughts are. I'm particularly curious about if y'all have enjoyed Labyrinth Lost as well. It has been so hot and so hyped on BookTube and on Twitter lately, and I'm just really curious if other people have felt the same way that I felt. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!